Well, I think you're always going to have, challenges in different terminology and language between, any department in an enterprise, and even more so between the technical functions and the non-technical functions of a company. And so, I think this gap will always be there. But companies can work to mitigate the gap, by having people play the role of a service owner or an IT business liaison that really acts as the translator between IT and the business. And the onus is ultimately on the IT organization to get it right. They're the service provider to the business, and the business has other alternatives if internal IT can't deliver. So really the onus is on IT to become more business centric in the way it operates and interacts with the rest of the organization. Well, I mean, the maturity varies by organization and industry. I think what I find is that industries where information technology is core and is a differentiator between one company and another, you'll find a high degree of maturity because they have to. It's a life or death issue, for the company. In other industries where IT is more context and a secondary function, it's very immature. But the good news is I see it in general, maturing in most industries, and it's improving. And I think it's further accelerated by the fact that companies have a lot of external options for their IT services, and so when you have alternatives, that puts pressure on the system to get more mature. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, IT. Is delivering a service to the business, and so it has a responsibility to keep that service at high availability, at low cost, and the results very transparent to the business that they're serving. And so ultimately, and that needs to be done in terms that the business understands, and we've seen that improve a lot over the last several years. And it's been enabled by improving technology and better process maturity and industry standards that are out there. Yeah, I mean, this is an increasing trend. I think what you find is that 5-10 years ago, there was wholesale outsourcing of the complete IT organization. And I find that to be much less common these days. Companies are taking a much more selective approach to outsourcing, and IT, is at the center of helping to help the business make those decisions, and the internal IT organization is really acting as the as the broker of internal and external services. And so, in order for them to play that role, they need to be viewed as a trusted advisor. They need to be viewed as objective. They need to be viewed as an organization that's helping to drive top-line growth, not just bottom-line cost savings. And they need to aid the business in developing the requirements for those services in a way that they can be effectively brokered externally. Because if it's completely left to the business has a hard time anticipating potential needs and expectations that talented people in IT, having run those services before, would be in a better position to help articulate. Well, there's a lot of questions within that question, and so in many cases, when we use the term cloud here, I suspect people are referring to consuming software or services in the cloud. And there have been a lot of high-profile outages that have occurred that make people nervous about using cloud services. I will tell you, though, in the long run, companies whose sole mission in life is to run clouds and manage clouds will be in a better position to do that than 99% of the world's enterprises. You think about it, the equivalent analogy would be like electricity. How many companies run their own power plants? Very few. And so ultimately, those services, those application services will be delivered in the cloud. I have no doubt about it. It's just a matter of rate and pace. And so, like any good risk manager, you're going to start to move the services that are less mission critical, that are more context for you, into the cloud and SaaS-based services first, and then over time you'll move up the food chain of mission critical services. So you just need to be smart about it and manage the risk, to get there.
Okay, lower cost or better agility, or maybe both?
I think a lot of the initial drivers around cloud were cost-based. I think most companies are starting to realize that the real value proposition is around agility and being able to consume innovation more rapidly. And so that's, I see as increasingly the key driver behind cloud. Sure, once it gets to scale, will it save operating costs? Absolutely. But I think the core driver is really to enable businesses to become more agile. The gap between development and ops is significant, and increasingly because in the past, in the development environment, you had very agile practices that allowed people to iterate releases very, very quickly, but the infrastructure didn't support those changes. Now the infrastructure, with the advent of virtualization and automation and ultimately cloud, enables much more dynamic changes in the infrastructure to support much more frequent releases. And so the gap that remains is really more of a process gap than anything else. The whole release management function and how you coordinate the steps between the different stages of development and production. So that's the crux of the current gap. It's not so much a technology challenge in solving the gap, it's a process challenge. And it's getting both sides to kind of document their processes, to come up with methodologies for driving the releases between those steps in a transparent way between all the functions that are involved. And so I'm very hopeful that that's improving in many enterprises, and we're helping to support that change.
Okay. Thank you for a very interesting interview.
Thank you.